seconds. So first of all, we see the impacts of climate change in our food system and food security here in a number of different ways. The fact that we are so dependent on outside food sources, as Merv spoke to, and that relies to us having this 2 to 3 day supply of fresh vegetables and fruits in the case of some form of disruption to our very vulnerable, fragile food distribution system that we do rely on, means that every time there is an extreme storm, we see empty shelves in our grocery stores. And we see that here in St. John's, and we know that if we're seeing that here in St. John's, it's even more intensely felt in more rural, remote northern places across the province. We also know that communities across this province are facing increasing challenges relating to consistently being able to access traditional wild foods as a result of climate change impacts on safely getting out on the land, sea, and ice to hunt and fish. And this is challenging one of what we think about as our greatest strengths in terms of food security in this province, our traditional foodways of hunting, fishing, berry picking, gardening, and we see those as very much being core to thinking about a future food system here in the province. So we do see climate change directly challenging that in the province as well. Those challenges sort of compound the challenges that we already exist when we think about food security in this province. So the fact that we're a small population, we're spread out over a land mass that's more than 3 times the size of the other maritime provinces, I shouldn't say other, of the maritime provinces combined. And what that ends up leading to is this complicated food distribution puzzle, the fact that many communities don't actually have great access to healthy, affordable, good quality food. And I like to think of this stat as being a great way to sort of illustrate that, the fact that there's 84% of communities in the province that do not have a grocery store and are dependent on a corner store or on transportation to a neighboring community to buy food. And that transportation can be a 45-minute or hour-long ferry ride and then a 45-minute or hour-long drive. So it pretty significantly impacts your access. Another way to think about it is the fact that what we end up seeing is that communities across this province have much greater access to more highly processed foods as a result of all of this. And so it becomes a bit less surprising that we do face lowest rates of vegetable and fruit consumption, high rates of health-related challenges here in the province, that kind of points to the importance and significance of this issue. So there was one other, as is also spoken about when we think about the sort of climate impacts on, or the connection between climate change and food security in the food system. The other, of course, big piece is the fact that we're dependent on so much food that is traveling such large distances to make it to this province. And we heard this morning that transportation is one of the most significant contributors of greenhouse gas emissions. So another kind of significant consideration when we think about this issue.